Pete, this is a silly movie,
It's silly.
and I say that with some irreverence because you can't take it overly seriously. I really like John Cusack as an actor, but like I said, I have a confession to make. This isn't my favorite era of his. I have not seen Better Off Dead, but I saw a Sure Thing and some of his other work in this period. I really did not become a fan of his until probably 1989 Say Anything, where I perked up and started vibing with his
Same
brand.
thing. Great. Yeah.
It's later on when I feel his performances reflect that everyman appeal and the subtleties in his characters, that really appealed to me. Or perhaps he just started getting better material. Anyways, one crazy summer's strength, I still think, lies in its setup and payoff style of comedy. There were several set pieces in this film that I really thought were absolutely brilliant. One of them involves, an elaborate setup. Well, you already mentioned the setup with the with act. No, who is it? It's Egg Stork. The the oh my god, the Bobcat character stuck in a Godzilla suit.
So
And
funny.
another is where there's a character, Calamari, who gets stuck under a beach chair. Now,
Yeah.
none of
Oh
this humor is remotely sophisticated, but I
no.
but I couldn't help but appreciate how intelligently the seeds for these jokes were planted early on in the scenes and paid off later on. One of my favorite TV shows of all time is Arrested Development, which is probably the alpha and the omega when it comes to planting the seeds in a joke early in the show or in the scene and then paid off later on. This film isn't nearly as smart as the worst episode of that show, but it's trying to work on that level at times, I feel like. The plot of this movie, it's absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
I can't even, I don't know, but it's so absurd, so ridiculous. There's no point in me sitting here poking holes in it because clearly the filmmakers didn't give a rat's ass about any of it making sense. But because the plot, I'll say, it was crew expendable, that did leave us with some fun characters still. The Stork brothers, man,
Hilarious.
you either will find them hilarious or probably find their bit very tiresome after a short period of time. The we got Clay played by Tom Villard and Bobcat Goldthwait. Now, I said before, I was really really impressed with Bob Goldthwait. You're either on his wavelength or you're not. It works for me. I think he's got actually some of the funniest dialogue in this movie because he's definitely you could look at it and say he's just this out of control wacky character, but some of the funniest moments are what I think is probably him improving a lot of his
Maybe.
dialogue because there's a time where like he's carrying things around. Is there anything else you want us to carry? Do you have a car or something like that? Which I think is probably him just like riffing, because
Yeah.
he's a stand-up comic, which had me bawling because it's really probably just him improving a lot of his lines, which I thought was really really good. What else? I really just enjoyed the screen time with the Storks a lot. Uh, yeah, but none of the script I'd say was really the strength of this movie. And finally, I just want to say one other thing. I loved the villain in this. I think it's Daddy Beckerstead.
Yes.
Hollywood doesn't give us many mustache twirling villains anymore. This guy,
Yes.
this guy rocks. He does, and he's bad because he loves to toss live lobsters into a boiling pot of water and listen to them scream
Yes.
with a stethoscope.
So funny. I I thought he was great, and I think we gotta talk about George Calamari too. I mean, like, w- what a funny who just like he arrives on Nantucket and is just like, oh yeah, I'm in my element now. Like, he's just so funny. I think you're right. The payoff for all these bits, but I also think we don't get a lot of like bit based comedy movies anymore. It was really nice to see this loose structure where there was
Mm,
no adherence to like we have to stay with this one style or we have to, you know, only make the build up bigger for fewer jokes. Like you could have a beach bit, you could have a boat bit, you could have a Godzilla bit, you could have a lobster boil. Like it just was fun and absurdist, and it just felt like
yeah,
chapters. And I really appreciated just how sort of loose this film was.
yeah. So I had a good time with this. It's fun. It's a stupid movie, but I
Yes,
found myself laughing. Um, enough in this. It's a mild of like recommendations of movies from this era. I debated between like a 2.5 and a three. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5 just because I remember I had a good enough time of an enjoyable enough time in this movie where it just ekes into that range. But